This is Acts 2:16. But this is that which was spoken by the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass that in the last days, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And on my servants and on my handmaids I will pour out in those days my spirit, and they shall prophesy. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kol Haloim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who do well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad. Akim and Akwat that's listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson is edifying. It's the brother Shawab on Mwam back at you with another lesson. And just want to go into a couple quick testimonies, all right? Dreams that me and my rib, have had, especially, the inspiration came from pretty much this morning, where she had one this morning. She was telling me about it. And I had two of them about 2.5 weeks ago. I want to say about 2.5 weeks, possibly 3 weeks ago. And I've been meditating on, bringing it out when the Spirit gave me the Spirit to come out and speak about it. You know, and the fact that my rib had one today, pretty much let me put this lesson together. All right, so as we just read in Acts 2, all right, that in these last days, okay, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah is going to pour the Spirit upon people to be able to see dreams, all right, prophetic dreams of things to come. All right, as a matter of fact, when you go into that word prophesy, that they will see dreams and prophesy. All right, that word prophesy goes into prophet
Strong's G, 4395.
prophetuo, prophetuo, right? And it says, speak forth by divine inspirations to predict. Okay, so at the end of the day, if the dreams you have, okay, are not of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, basically going into prophecy, then they're just dreams that are passing by. Okay, I believe Ecclesiasticus, I want to say the 34th chapter speaks about that. Let me see. Yeah. It says, the hopes of a man void of understanding are vain and false, and dreams lift up fools. All right. Which, going into, somebody setting goals, basically having hopes, on things set forth that are not, you know, that are not worthy to be, setting your hopes on, basically. All right. But it continues to say, whoso regardeth dreams is like him that catches the at a shadow and followeth after the wind. The vision of dreams is the resemblance of one thing to another, even as the likeness of a face to a face. Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? And from that thing which is false, what truth can come? Divinations, soothsayings, and dreams are vain, and the heart fancieth as a woman's heart in travail. All right. So, continuing actually, it says, if they be not sent from the Most High Yahweh, in thy visitation set not thy heart upon them. For dreams have deceived many, and have failed, they have failed that put their trust in them. All right. So, you know, again, in the beginning is speaking about how the hopes of man are vain and false, when they have no understanding, okay, of this truth. And you setting your goals on certain things in this lifetime is pretty much you going is you being a fool, right? Because if these dreams don't have nothing to do with prophecy, all right, then they're not of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. They're just a dream that's passing by, you see. But if they are prophetic according to scriptures, things that are going to happen according to scriptures, then those dreams are of the Most High. You see, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai is allowing you to see what's to come, you see, and be able to speak on these things, okay? So you have to be careful with what comes to you in dreams. Okay. Now, going back to that word, all right, prophetua. Hold on real quick. It's loading back up. All right, goes into prophetua. Prophetu. Yeah, prophetuo.
Strong's G 4395. Prophetuo.
Okay.
Prophetuo.
So it says the part we want is speak forth by divine inspirations to predict. That's one. All right, then it says to utter forth, declare a thing which can only be known by divine revelation. You see, it says, just looking real quick, and that's pretty much the two that I want. Okay, it says with the idea of fortune or foretelling future events pertaining especially to the kingdom of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. All right, so again, it's about us declaring a thing that can only be known by a divine revelation. Okay, a divine inspiration of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, because all these things are inspired by Yahweh. Okay, so just to go into the one that my wifey had this morning, and it was hella spiritual too, because basically what she had a dream of was that ICE came right to the unit that we live in now and kicked down the door, and they kicked down the door and they went upstairs, because in this unit there's eight apartments, so you got four upstairs and four downstairs, and they literally broke down the first door. You have to get in through a first door to get into the unit, and then you have everybody's doors. So they got into the first door somehow, kicking it down, and then they went upstairs to the people above us but to the left, and they are Issachar, and they have two. It's a mother with two young girls, and a young son. Okay, and basically they ended up kicking down the door, and they went upstairs to her house, and they took her away, the mother. You see, and the mother came crying to my wifey, basically begging that we take care of her children. You know, and it's just scary because at the same time that she's telling me about this dream, and I was taking her to work at the same time, where we used to live actually got ran down by ICE agents this morning at the same time. So it was just all weird little thing going on, which I had a feeling for a while that through the spirit, ICE was gonna run up in that complex that we used to live in. We was having problems there too with a lot of people. So it was almost like if I was praying for it at one point, but then I realized, I shouldn't pray on those things, because at the end of the day, those are our people. you know Even though I was having problems with them, it's not the right thing to do. You just got to let Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah do his will. If it's meant for them to get caught up by them, you let them be. But very well that they ended up running down in that place. I don't know if they came out with anybody or anything like that, but it was all over our news out here in Freehold, basically. But still, the one that she had about the girls upstairs was kind of, a little bugged out, because she was saying it was sad, like she was crying because she didn't know what to do when her mother was asking, for us to take care of her children. And hey, it might be very well that they do get ran down on. We might get put in a situation like that. So it's scary. This is why we got to stay prayed up. With Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, as the precept goes in Proverbs 18:10. All right, for the Lord Yahweh, all right, is a strong tower, and the righteous man runneth into it is safe. The prudent man foreseeth the evil, and he hideth himself. So, this is why we have to, stay hidden, all right, with these scriptures. All right, we become, hidden from the world when we constantly meditate on the word of the Lord. You see. So, with that being said, let me grab, and they're into church too. They're into church heavy. What they worship, I have no clue. I want to say they probably worship on some Guadalupe shit, but you never know. They might be into Cracker Jesus. Okay. But let's go into this is second Ezra 16. All right, because that's what it instantly reminded me of. All right, 16 and 71. It says, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord Yahweh Shai. All right, so all these ICE agents that you see, pretty much knocking people's doors down and stopping people in the middle of the road and stopping people in the cheap place of concourse. That's all prophecy, man. That's these madmen sparing. That's the madmen sparing none. You know, because you see them ripping children away from their parents. Whether it be the children being taken away, it's usually the parents that get taken away. But again, it's a heartbreaking thing to actually experience. You know, is it well deserved to these people? Most likely. All right, because a lot of them, you don't know what they've done in their past life. You don't know what they've done in this life. It could be very well for them doing spiritual wickedness, by worshiping up on, most of the time it's them worshiping on other gods, man. And the Lord puts you into the hands of your enemies, okay, when he's had enough for your sins. Okay, just like it tells you in Isaiah the 10th chapter, all right, verse 6, all right, that he will send them against a hypocritical nation, those that turn away from the Lord. Matter of fact, let me just grab it. All right, this is Isaiah 10 and 6, and it says, I will send him against a hypocritical nation, against the people of my wrath. Will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire in the streets? All right, so it's all of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai at the end of the day when these ICE agents run up in your house, man. All right, the Lord is constantly bringing judgment forth. All right, even when you go to second Ezra's, the 15th chapter, right, it says which this is talking about Moab and all that, but I'm gonna use this, all right, according to prophecy, all right, because even though this is for Moab, this is going to happen to our people also. It says, thy children shall they carry away captive, and look, and what thou hast, they shall spoil it and mar the beauty of thy face. Okay, so a lot of these, children are going to be taken away captive. Okay, when you go up to, let me see, 1 second. Go to 19 in second Ezra 15. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, okay, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, okay, and spoil their goods because the lack of bread and for great tribulation. But the part that I really want is, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, okay, but shall destroy their houses. So that's what you see. Up it says, for their great for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, their houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. You see, so you don't know, these people lived in great pride in those days, man. Okay, in the ancient times, and living in these times now, they might have been proudful, continually, making sacrifice and worshiping onto devils. All right, that's why the Lord puts you in the hands of the enemies. All right, like it tells you in Baruch, the 4th chapter, verse 6. All right, I have sold you to your enemies, not for your destruction, but because you made sacrifices onto devils, man. So the Lord put you in those type of predicaments, and that's a very scary thing, to fall into the hands of the living power on the left hand side. You see, so basically that's the dream that she was having this morning. You know, and when she was telling me, I felt it. I felt like, damn, that's crazy. Knowing that they live right upstairs. And I see them girls all the time. I see the little boy all the time. And the mother, she's cool. She's a very nice lady. But again, we don't know what these people have done in their past lives. All right, for them to, if it happens, again, well, whether it happens to them or not, that type of dream is something that eventually will happen around us. Okay, and the Lord is preparing our mind for things like that. And we see things like that daily out here. Actually, there's a lot of ice around where we live. And they be running up and down these streets. Yesterday, they were actually running down on Issachar in ShopRite. All right, all these local stores around here. The only one they didn't run down on was pretty much Walmart. All right, which they got a lot of immigrants in there too, working. And this is what this devil's about, man. This devil is literally doing wickedness to our people, man. Just running up onto the hardworking people, because you already know Issachar is a strong ass, as the scriptures say, and they're gonna be constantly making that money by breaking their backs. Okay, they're the top tribe known, all right, for breaking their backs and working for the white man. You see, but here it is, at the same time they're trying to kick them out of this country. All right, so that was one of the dreams. Okay, now another dream that she had is one that I've been keeping away for a while. I haven't spoke for that off of that one for quite some time. I've always remembered it because that's how she came into this truth. All right, when she had first met me, she used to have these dreams all the time, and she didn't understand it. All right, until she had met me, and basically, Yahweh Shimmy Hawashah put the spirit on me to be able to, bring out scriptures for her, and basically interpret the dream for her of what it was. And basically what she kept seeing in her dreams was that she kept always in the middle of her dream, she will just wake up where the world was destroyed, and it was destroyed with fire, you see. And she will always see a dark man, all right, with red eyes, basically flames in his eyes, that as she would say. And every time she would try to wake up from it, she couldn't. And then when she finally did, the man would say that it wasn't time. And this was before I met her. And then when I first met her, all right, she kind of told me these dreams. And, until she actually had one of them that said the total opposite. She always had it the same way, where it was basically the earth is on fire, and she would see a dark-skinned man with flames in his eyes. But when I came into the picture, she said that now that the dark-skinned man will say to her that now it is time, you see. And through the spirit, I perceived it was like, because the truth, I was kind of speaking the truth to her in the beginning, until it really clicked. And basically when I had broke it down, which, let's just break that down real quick. All right, the fire that she will see is because of the nuclear missiles, you see. And the way that I knew that she was going to receive this truth was because the one day that I broke it down to her real good, she ended up having a cry of conviction, pretty much that same cry of conviction that I had when I came into the truth. And the one brother taught me the truth. And, I ended up crying on his shoulder, and it was killing me inside, because once you open your eye, once the Lord opens your eyes out to this truth, man, it hurts, you see. So she was freaked out. She was panicked by, what I had told her it meant. And I pretty much told her that, hey, listen, the Lord's coming to destroy this place with thermonuclear missiles, and a lot of people gonna pretty much die. And she was just breaking down and crying for about 40 minutes. And she was just saying, no, I don't want my kids to go. I don't want my kids to be taken, and, that cry of conviction is what pretty much led me to deal with her even more, because, I felt it. I felt that same exact way that she felt, so basically she kept having a dream of the world being caught on fire. All right. And the man that she kept seeing, I told her, was Yahweh Shai, according to Revelations. You see, because in Revelations 1 and let's grab that real quick. 1 and where we at? 1 and 13, it says what? It explains the revelation of Yahweh Shai, all right, which revelation goes back to peeling back the veil when you break that word down, okay, meaning back, and then velation goes into goes into back, and then velation goes into the veil, basically. So, you know, when you read Revelations, is you revealing, okay, or peeling back the veil to be able to understand, you know. So it says in Revelations 1 and and 13, it says, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His hair and his head and his hair were white like wool. And that was another thing she would always say, that his hair was just white. You see, that he was a dark-skinned man and his hair was white with flames in his eyes. But see, she didn't know the truth at that time. You see, now she had heard of the truth, not the truth, but she had heard always in her family, because her grandmother's a very spiritual person, and her aunt that passed away was a very spiritual person. And they used to tell her all the time that the Lord was not a white skinned man. You see, it was a dark skinned man. So she already kind of had a feeling, all right, kind of understood that it was not no pale skin, you know, tender rock star. Okay. She knew that it was a dark skinned man. She just didn't understand the names of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. She didn't understand really nothing of the truth, but just what was told to her. You see? So when I broke it down to her, I read these scriptures, these exact scriptures to her, and it actually clicked. You see? His head and his hairs were white like wool, white as snow, and his eyes were as the flame of fire. And that's what she used to see, his eyes being on with flames in his eyes, basically. You know, and that's why I told her that, you know, that represented, you know, Yahweh Shai pretty much destroying this place. You know, flames in his eyes was probably just because, you know, it's from him drinking wine. You know, I told her, but what she was seeing in the dreams might have been just like the glass, you know, when your eyes are glassy and you can see the reflection in the eyes, you know. So basically the world was burning, you know, from the thermonuclear missiles that were that had come to destroy this place, man. And that's exactly what she was seeing, you see. And it says, in his feet like onto fine brass, as if they had burned in a furnace, you know. And I explained to her that our Lord was a dark-skinned man, which she kind of already knew. You know, she just basically got confirmation when I broke it down to her, you see. And again, that's just the Lord showing certain things, you know. And you know, when she was first having it and I wasn't in the picture, that's why she kept seeing Yahweh Shai, you know, that dark-skinned man, basically telling her she wasn't ready yet. You know, I perceived it as because she wasn't in the truth yet. But once she will come into the truth, you know, it will be revealed to her that she was ready to understand it, you know. And then when I came into the picture, you know, she always, you know, told me, she's like, damn, I never heard nobody bring out the word like that, you know. And all I could say was, call Elohim like how about Shimi Shai, because it was not of me, it was of the Lord. You know, the Lord was able to use me to open her eyes at the end of the day, you know, which the Lord is what gives you the eye salve. And, you know, again, from there on, from that day on, she, you know, she understood this word, and she, you know, she's still in this word to this day, you know, better than ever, you know, fearing more than ever, you know, because she understands now that this place is going to be destroyed. So that dream ended up being interpreted by the scriptures, you see. And it was a beautiful thing, you know, because, hey, again, you know, I even read those scriptures to her from Acts, okay, that in those last days, you know, we will be able to prophesy and have dreams of certain things. And at first it's not given to you because you don't have the truth. You don't have the mysteries of the kingdom. But once it's given to you, you know, you're able to speak on it. Okay. And as a matter of fact, let me grab that real quick. This Deuteronomy 29 and 29, you know, if the Lord allows, he gives you that revelation because it's meant for you to have it. But there are certain things that are just secret unto the Lord and he keeps away from you. But this is 29 and 29. It says the secret things belong unto the Lord Yahweh, our power. But those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. All right. So there's certain things that the Lord just keeps away from us. You know, might be dreams that you can't break down, that you don't understand and might not never understand. All right. Until the Lord actually reveals that, or it just might not be of the Lord at all. You see? So, you know, we got to be able to discern these things through the spirit. Okay. And yeah, that was one of the heavy ones, you know, that always stuck with me, you know. And then the last two dreams, I had them about 2.5, almost 3 weeks ago. One of them was, it was actually her family that was chasing me down. And that's crazy because I had two dreams like that. I had one like that, you know, years back. I had did a video on it, and it was basically my family coming up against me, and they were pinpointing me to a bunch of martial law troops, and basically they had pretty much screamed to the martial law troops that I was in a certain particular area, and that's where I was, and they were pointing me out, and they were trying to get to me, you know. And this was kind of similar to what I was having, but it was with her family. The only thing is that they weren't pointing me out to no martial law troops. Her family was trying to actually go after me, and they was trying to run down on me and you know, pretty much kill me. Oh, it was crazy as hell. And I'm not even one to have dreams like that. That's why it was kind of heavy, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't really, like I said, I don't have dreams like that, man. Dreams to come out of me is like once in a while. And if I do have them, I don't remember them, you know? So basically, it was, I forgot where we was at exactly, but we were somewhere on the streets, and her family already has problems with me because they don't like that I brought her into the truth through the spirit. So, you know, we know through the spirit that ain't nothing but just demons that are pretty much jealous, you know, that she has turned from the light. I mean, that she has turned from wickedness to the light. Because the scriptures say when you depart from evil, you know, you make yourself a prey. So right off the rip, that was one of the first things I told my rib, you know, when she first came into this truth, you know, before I actually gave her that truth and casted my, you know, my pearls before her, because at the end of the day, we can't cast our pearls before swine, man. If it ain't, if they wicked and they not meant to have it, and they just acting, um, wicked, it's best that you don't speak to them about this truth, you know. But I had asked her, you know, if I tell you this truth and you accept it, it's going to be certain particular things that's going to happen to you right off the rip, you know. And one of the first things I told her was that she was going to lose all her family members. They were going to hate her. They were going to turn on her. You know, she was going to lose her friends. And that's exactly what happened to her. She lost all her friends. She lost most of her family members, you know. Only ones that really deal with her now is just her one brother, you know, and pretty much it, honestly. And her grandmother, you know, but everybody else doesn't deal with her. They like completely hate her, and they completely hate me. You know, even her own son came out, you know, which I think it was her mother just being slick behind her son's phone. He was saying the other day that, you know, you ain't a mother to me. I hate you, this and that. And, you know, I know it hurt her and all that, but, you know, through the spirit, I explained it to her and comforted her also about that, you know, that, hey, this is the things that we have to go through to, you know, test us of our faith at the end of the day. But yeah, they hate me with a passion. You know, they have tried to attack me in the past. They have, you know, maced me in my eyes before, you know, tried to jump me. Every time I would go around that house, because we would have to pick up her daughter sometimes because the bus would drop her off there on half days, you know, but it was always a shit show there, man. Like literally just demons come on these people and start messing with us for no damn reason. I ain't got nothing to say to them. I'm just there to pick up, you know, the daughter from a distance, not even getting out of my car. And they would just come to my car, you know, trying to make, you know, things happen, you know, and I would try to, you know, stay as quiet as possible, you know. But with that being said, in the dream, basically, I was getting chased by her family, and they was pretty much trying to unalive me. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't all I remember was me running through different parts of the town, you know, and buildings, and trying to dip and dodge. And I remember me praying to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai as I'm trying to escape, you know, remembering that the Lord is my safe tower, you see. And I just kept telling the Lord, get me away from this, you know, protect me, until I pretty much finally got away from them pretty far. And I ended up hiding in it was like a broken down building, you know, and I was hiding there for a while, you know, and then I pretty much woke up, you know, in the middle of the dream, you know. So that goes into, you know, prophecy of us, you know. Let's grab that real quick. A man's foes shall be theirs of their own household. Okay. And I remember, as a matter of fact, now I remember it even a little bit more. When I was running, she was there. She was there, but she ended up being split up from me running, because they were after her also. That was the crazy part. And at that time, my woman, you know, she was, you know, she had her seed in the belly, you know what I'm saying? And I believe in the dream, she was also with the seed, you know, and it's crazy because their family hated us so bad that I know there was, you know, they was talking shit a couple times about the seed that we had. You know, they didn't like that I had a baby with her, you know, which that didn't work out in our favor. But hey, that was of the Lord, you know, because the Lord, you know, protects, you know, spares certain people from evil at the end of the day. And I very well believe that the Lord spared my son from the evil that's to come, because we're in crazy times. Okay. But let's grab this real quick. This is Matthew 10:36, and it says, a man's foes shall be they of their own household. Okay. As a matter of fact, let me grab it up to 34. It says, think not that I come to send peace on earth. I come not to send peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man at variance against the father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And that's exactly, you know, what we've gone through in this truth. You know, she basically came up against her mother, you see, letting her know how wicked she was. You know, she basically split from dealing with her mom, realizing, you know, well, one, because I was dealing with her daughter. So, you know, she kind of just separated from her anyway, because she realized the things that she was doing, you know, and ultimately that whole family just didn't want to deal with us at all. Okay. Which it was cool. It was better anyway, you know. But it says, a man's foes shall be they of their own household. Okay. So her family being the foes, you know, trying to chase me down, trying to chase her down. You see, that's all spiritual. That's all prophecy, man. These are things that we're going to be going through in these last days, man. You're going to have family members that literally, scriptures say that the brother shall put the brother up to death. All right. Let me grab that real quick. It might be in the same. And the brother shall deliver the brother up to death, KJV.
The phrase "brother shall deliver
Yeah,
the
it
brother
wasn't
up
the
to death"
same one.
comes
It
from
says,
Matthew chapter 10, verse 21 in the King James Version.
and it says, and the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father, the child, and the children shall raise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. You see? So, you know, these are things that we have to go through in this truth, you know, and you can't be mad at it, because the Lord spoke on these things already. You see, told you that these things will happen. So these are part of our lots. These are part of our sufferings. You see, these are done to see if you are going to turn from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, see if you're going to continue to have faith, because those are those trials and tribulations that come, you know, that most people fall on the stony places, man. They get the truth. You see, they get the truth. They come with gladness that they're Israelites. But when the persecution, the afflictions come, you see, the cares of this life, you know, they pretty much get choked up. They get choked up by the word, you see, because they can't handle these things. You have to prepare your soul for temptation when you come to serve the Lord. You have to prepare yourself mentally to lose everything on this side for the knowledge of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, as it tells you in Philippians, the 3rd chapter, okay, that you count all things but dung. You count them as a loss, okay, for the knowledge and the excellency of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. See, all these things are done, to test you in your faith, man. And Romans 8:35 tells you nothing shall separate you from the love of Hamashiach. All right, no tribulation, okay, no death, all right, no principalities, okay, none of these things. All right, every single thing that happens, you have to eat it manfully. All right, if you're a woman, you're gonna have to put your womanish ways to the side and have a manly stomach for it, man. You see, and you have to take it the way it comes, because that's showing that the Lord is dealing with you. You see, that you're not a bastard, but you're a son or a daughter, you see, and you're being chastised, okay, for Yahweh's sake, to see if you really are about this truth, to see if you really represent Yahweh, okay? And these are things that Shaitan comes, pretty much begs the Lord to do, all right? Just like he was begging for Simon Peter, all right, to be sifted as wheat, okay? So are the same things happening to us, just like, Shaitan was trying to get at Job. Job got his whole family taken away, all his riches, all his land, okay? He was hit with boils from head to toe. His wife died. You see, you had his friends giving him bad advice. These are things that we're all going to go through also, you see, and we can't fall away from the word, man. We have to continue to believe in the Lord, all right, regardless of what happens. So it says, and the brother shall deliver up the brother to death. All right, as a matter of fact, let me see one. Yeah, it says, and the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father, the child, and the children shall raise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. All right. Like I said, there's going to be times where I remember a couple years back, these devils was asking people that if they had family members that were preaching the word that are Hebrew Israelites, to report them, man. See, these are things that we're going to see. Is going to be part of that great persecution, And as a matter of fact, which goes into my next dream that I was having. All right, the other dream that I had, because I had these dreams back to back, literally. I had them one day, I had one, and then the next morning I had the other one. All right, and then the other one that I had was about persecution, the persecution that we're gonna go through, because it happened, and I was in Walmart, and I think a fight had broke out. Something broke out in Walmart where people started arguing, and somehow I got put in handcuffs. So when I got put in handcuffs, it was weird. I ended up being put in handcuffs, and then I woke up. And then when I woke up, I went to go use the bathroom. And when I came back and laid down, I went right back into the dream. But when I went back into the dream, I was inside I was in front of judges. That was the crazy part about it, that I was in shackles and I was in front of judges. All right. And the scriptures tell you that. I believe it's in Luke 21. Let me grab that real quick. This is Luke 21. And basically what they were trying to do was they were trying to accuse me of something that I had not done. And I was sitting there arguing with them, telling them, like, what the fuck you talking about? Like, that's not why I'm here. But the scriptures talk about how this devil is the accuser of our brethren, you see? So, very well that he was trying, the judge, which it was a whole Karen at that. That shit was bugged out. It was a whole Karen, and it was a bunch of lawyers around me and all these different officers, and they were all trying to read me my my charges. And as I'm listening to the charges, I'm like, what the fuck? I said, I'm not here for that. Y'all got the wrong person. But they were just like looking at me with a smirk and laughing, literally, you see? And that's what's going to happen in these last days, man. We're going to be persecuted for Yahweh's sake. We're going to be hated by all men for Yahweh's sake. Okay? Let's grab that real quick. This is Luke, I believe it's the 21st chapter. 1 second. It might be the 12th chapter, actually. Yeah, I think it's the 12th chapter, Luke 12. Hold on, let me bring it up. This is, oops, where is it at? It's Luke, 20, yeah, it was 21. I passed right by it. Luke 21 and 12. Yeah, so it says, but before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake, and it shall turn to you for a testimony. You see? Settle therefore in your hearts not to meditate before what ye shall answer, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And ye shall be betrayed by both parents and brethren and kinfolks and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not an hair of your head perish. In your patience you possess your souls. Okay, so again, us being delivered for the persecution. Okay, as a matter of fact, it tells you in Revelations the 2nd chapter, verse 10. Okay, it says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. You see? So, going into that great persecution, the Lord is basically some of us are gonna be ending up in prisons, man, for a testimony of Yahweh Shai, man, just to be tested in our faith. You see, we might become martyrs, okay? Or the Lord might have us escape, set it up in a way where we escape out of there. Regardless of what situation you're put in, you're being tried for your faith at the end of the day. And that's what I remember. It started in one place. It started in Walmart. A fight broke out, something. It was kind of like all hell breaking loose type shit. And basically people were fighting for whatever it was, and then somehow I got put in the shackles, you see. And then when I woke up and went to the bathroom, then I came back, I was in this courtroom mixed with a bunch of officers. It was a Karen for a judge, basically. All right, and they all started just coming out with all these different types of charges, and that's the persecution, man. The accuser of thy brethren. They're gonna be trying to say that you did this. Oh, you remember, they're watching us on these highways and hedges. They're watching us on these sit down videos. You see, they're probably watching me right now, and they trying to see what you say. If you say, that's why we're not to have the ministry blamed, because anything that we do, they can use against us. You can't have Esau, use flames to make that fire on you, man. You see, so you have to move in a certain manner. You have to move in a certain character. Okay. So, when they started telling me these different charges, I was just looking at them with this face like, what are you talking about? and I had nothing to do with that, but they was just sitting there smirking, and eventually I ended up being woken up from the dream, because I always have a habit of doing that when I'm in the middle of dreams, when it's gonna get better, or when it's gonna get more intense. Somehow I always wake up, and when I wake up like breathing like I can't breathe, and I remember when I woke up, I looked at my wifey and I was just like, yo, was I just drunk? Because she was awake. And I was asking her like, yo, was I tripping just now? Like, literally, like, did you see me tripping? Because I felt it, you know what I'm saying? And I was just like, and I gasped for air and everything, but she just looked at me like, nah. And, I ended up breaking it down to her like, yo, it's crazy, yo. I'm like 2 days in a row I'm dreaming, and I remembered them, and I told her what it was, things that we're gonna have to go through, and hey, Lord willing, Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shah protect us from those things, and we don't have to go through them, you know, but it could be a very much of a sign of the Lord showing me that, hey, man, this might be something I have to go through, you know, so I got to be prepared for that in my, excuse me, I have to be prepared for that in my mind at all times, you know, and it's always been like that. I've had a very big feeling about that ever since I came into this truth, you know, because there was so many times that I should have been locked up, you know, locked up for a long time, but somehow the Lord, you know, bailed me out, you know, through my parents, you know, through my father, you know, keeping me away from prison, you know. And I remember one of the first things I always thought when I came into this truth, that the Lord might very well, especially when I read these scriptures about being locked up in prisons, you know, being brought before judges, you know, one of the first things I always thought was that, hey, it might be very sure that the Lord puts me in that situation because I never went to, you know, prison, you know, for felonies, you know, when I should have been. The Lord had mercy on me on those days, but, you know, he might preserve a situation like that in the future for me, man, just to test my faith, just to see where I'm at, you know. And I hope Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah will be able to deliver me if I ever went through some shit like that, man. But if he don't, you know, that means it was meant for me to go through something like that, and I still have to strive for the truth until death. You see, I still got to believe all the way to the end, you know, regardless. That's why it says, be faithful. You see, just read that real quick. It says, uh, be thou faithful until death, and I will give thee a crown of life. You see, so regardless, okay, which that doesn't literally mean that we're going to be locked up in prison for 10 days. It could be many days. It could be fewer days. Okay. But regardless, we have to be faithful until death, you know, because you dying in the name of the Lord, dying in Yahweh Shai, man, that's an automatic crown. Okay. But again, you know, us being Israelites, we're going to go through that great persecution. You know, they're going to make you look bad on TV. You know, they most wanted. These prophets going to be most wanted, you know. And Esau always trying to make us look as bad as he can. You know, he going to use AI to, you know, make us look like we was doing all types of shit, taking all these videos that we done snapped on, you know, and put them together in one video and make us look like we saying some crazy nonsense without having the rest of the video. You see, these are the things that we have to, you know, remember and meditate on, man, and pray that you are worthy to escape these things. You see, because these things are scary, man. That's why the scriptures say, through the fear of the Lord, we persuade men, especially when you have dreams like that, things like that, you know, that you can remember. Because if it wasn't meant for me to, you know, see that, man, the Lord would have had me remember those things. Okay. And the fact, like I said, that I don't even dream like that, it was heavy that I was even having those dreams. So, you know, that ain't the first time. Definitely not. The last time before those 2-3 weeks ago, it was probably about like maybe 2.5, 3 years ago that I had a dream. All right. And it was basically the same thing. It was actually my parents were coming after me. A lot of my family members, a lot of my friends, they were pointing me out to martial law troops. You know, my daughter had one also. She said that she had one where the martial law troops came with a big ass tank to my mother's house, and they came there looking for me, you know, but that one was coming from my daughter, you know, and she didn't remember it all, but she remembered certain key points. And that was one of the key points, that big ass army truck, military tank came to my direct mother's house, and they were looking for me, but I wasn't there at that time. I wasn't in the picture, you see. So they came looking for me, but they didn't find me. You know, these are all prophetic dreams that the Lord is showing us and warning us with, man, to always keep your eyes, you know, circumspect. Scriptures say that, man, be circumspect, redeeming the times, because the days are evil, man. So, you know, we have to constantly look over our shoulder, not in paranoia mode, because the Lord didn't give us the spirit of fear, but of a sound mind and sound doctrine, you see. So us understanding, we're able to constantly believe in the Lord when we are put in a situation like that. You know, you got to always remember first to call on the name of the Lord, man. That's your only safe tower. The Lord could change all of that. The Lord could have them coming, knocking on your door, break down your door, and your power of prayer pierce the clouds, man. And then the Lord just have them turn back around out of nowhere. All of a sudden, they just turning back around and they're not even dealing with you no more. You see? because it's all controlled by the Lord, you know. So yeah, man, those were pretty heavy little dreams that I had, you know. They could have been longer, you know, if I probably would have just slept it out. But hey, the Lord woke me up for a reason. Maybe he didn't want to reveal what goes on after that, you know, for whatever reason it was. Or maybe the Lord's going to give me more intense dreams later. Because as we continue to get closer and closer to this end, man, people are going to dream more and more. You know, the dreams are going to intensify. You know, things are going to be revealed more in those dreams. You know, and you got a lot of people, you know, in the house of Israel that are having a lot of dreams, a lot of women, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much something I wanted to share, you know, through the spirit. You know, it's been a while since I didn't speak on it. You know, I was just waiting for the spirit to jump on me for me to speak of those things. But hey, you know, let's see what the Lord has in store for us. And remember, we got to continue to keep fighting regardless of what happens, man. So, hey, Lord willing that you were edified. So with that being said, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, call Haloim La, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad, the Akim and the Akwat that was listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson was edifying. To the next one, Shalom. Keep fighting the good fight of faith, enduring as good soldiers of Yahweh Shai, all the way to the end. He that endured to the end, the same shall be saved. Shalom, Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Barakatah.